Hello everyone. Hello everyone, True Zero Emissions here. Okay, I just made a video, a really great video, and the phone froze on me. What was happening is the screen just froze up and then it unfroze after like a minute. So I'm going to start the video over. Okay, so the video I'm making is talking about the last charger you may ever need. The last charger I may ever need. Unless I want something more powerful, which is very likely. Because we just want more and more powerful chargers, right? And there's such a thing as what I'll call low resistance charging now, which I want you to go over to G batteries. If you're interested in fast charging, like 5 to 10 minutes fast charging, then you're going to want to know about this. It's called G batteries, and those guys are charging electric vehicles in 5 to 10 minutes with less damage to the battery than slow charging. That means more cycle life by fast charging, because they're doing what I'll call low resistance charging. So I'm definitely interested in that. But for now, we have these chargers. This charger can replace all of our scooter chargers, as long as we're within the voltage range and the amperage range of the scooter. This goes up to 146 volts, or approximately 140 volts. I've read different specifications, up to 146, up to 140. I don't know what the exact limit is, but that's a lot of power, right? 146 volts down to 5 volts, or I've also read down to 1 volt. The current is 15 amps maximum, right? The input voltage is auto sensing. We can connect this to 220 or 110. That's my understanding. Confirm that for yourself. But it is auto sensing, and it'll switch between the two voltages by automatically. The reason I bring that up is not only can we use this charger in place of all of our other chargers, but then we are responsible for the current and for the voltage. We have to set that ourselves. That's very important. And it must be accurate. We don't want to go too high. We don't want things heating up. We have to stay within specification, which I'm doing. I have this booklet here, and part of the reason I'm using this charger is when this scooter just came out, it just came out recently, Wolf King GTR, I wanted to buy 2 fast chargers for it. They weren't available. I couldn't find them anywhere. So then I read in the book. I said, well, how fast can I charge this scooter? Charging time. Use 2 5-amp chargers, about 3.5 hours. I thought that sounds good to me, because if we use the 2-amp chargers that came with the scooter, it takes more than twice as long, right? That's 8.5 hours. This sounds better to me. Now, to me, 10 minutes or 20 minutes sounds really good, but I don't see those chargers for these available yet. But believe me, I'm looking, and I know G Batteries has already achieved that. And I know that experimenters are doing it too, all over the world. So, we might have to build our own. That's okay with me. But study gbatteries.com to see what they're doing, because they explain the theory of everything they're doing. And they did this 15 years ago. And it started out with experimenting with charging cell phones in different ways. And they just accidentally discovered that they could fast charge the batteries on the cell phone, so that was not a goal. They were not trying to fast charge cell phones at first. They were just trying to find different ways to charge it. I think that's really exciting, because they've made a company out of this. And it's a father and son who are both electrical engineers, if I understand correctly. So this charger, this is the Roger charger, okay? This is what we're going to talk about today. And this is the charger that can replace all of our other scooter chargers. It lets us set the amps, and it lets us set the volts. And we can set those to what we need, what our scooter needs. Okay, if you want to, you can go slower current than your present charger. Let's say you want to slow charge it. Let's say your present charger is a 2-amp charger, right? Or a 1.5-amp charger. You can go down lower than that on this. That's my understanding. So you could even go a slower charge if you want to. Or you can go to the maximum, whatever the maximum is for your scooter. Like this one, it's showing on the book. I can run 2 5-amp chargers. That's 10 amps. And that's what I've done with this scooter. I charged it at 10 amps. I'm going to show you how we do this now. So you're going to need to get plugs. And you might have to make your own plugs, or if you can find the plugs. One way to get plugs that I'm using as an approach is I just use the chargers that came with the scooter, and I just cut the plugs. Make sure they're definitely unplugged when you cut the wires. You never want to cut a wire that's powered. So I cut the two cords close to the charger, and then I soldered it in here, and then I separately wrapped each line, and then wrapped the two together. And I labeled the charger so I know which one's amps and which one's volts. And there's a procedure here, and I may write it onto the charger as well. There's a procedure of how I understand that we use the charger. And it's very important that that procedure be followed. And I'm going to tell you right now how to do it. So when and this is how I do it. Please confirm for yourself. Get the directions, instructions on how to do this correctly. I'm just going to share with you what I understand. Roger was giving an example, and I really hope my phone doesn't crash again. Because last time it just froze on me and the video stopped. Roger, the man that made the Roger charger, he was explaining an example of, he said if he has a 100 volt battery, he's going to set the voltage to 101, and that's where he'll charge it at. He'll set it to 101, which is 1 volt above the battery voltage. Now, the chargers on this scooter for the Wolf King GTR, they charge at 84 volts. That's fully charged. So the way the way I charge it is I set it 1 volt above that, which is 85 volts. Now when the charger is connected to the scooter, when I first connect it, that voltage is going to drop. We just leave it. We do not touch that. That's very important, because the battery has to charge at its own. The charger is going to do the work. It knows what to do. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of how I use this charger. So the first thing I do when everything's unplugged is I then plug in the charger. Well, first thing I do before I plug it in is I put this dial here, the amps dial. I set the amps dial between the two extremes. So if I go all the way counterclockwise, it stops here, and if I go all the way clockwise, it stops there. So between the two, somewhere in the middle, is about right there, right? Around 5 o'clock, approximately. So with the amps dial between the two extremes, somewhere in the middle, I will then power up the charger, the battery charger. The battery charger is not plugged into the battery yet, okay? It's not plugged in. We're just powering this up. So once this is powered up, we can set the voltage. This is the voltage. To increase voltage, I think it's clockwise, and to lower voltage, it's counterclockwise, if I recall correctly. So I set the voltage to 85 volts, and the display is on the other side. The top display is voltage, the bottom display is current, or what we call amperage, which I think, if I understand correctly, is also resistance, right? That's our resistance number. So the top display is our voltage. I set the top display to 85 volts. Once it's at 85, I stop turning this and I leave it. The next thing I do is I turn the current down. I turn it all the way counterclockwise until the current drops all the way down. When the current stops, I then take this plug, my plug to charge the battery, I plug it into the charger and I plug it into the battery. Okay, because now that the current is all the way down, on the bottom display, on the other side, now that it's all the way down, the current display, the bottom display, top one's voltage, bottom one's current. When the current's all the way down, the voltage will drop too, okay? When it does that, we can go ahead and plug in my battery. So I plug in here, okay, and I plug in the battery, both of these, to the battery, because this battery has 2 plugs. These are really nice plugs too, look at these, they're really safe. It's not just metal bars sticking up that can touch each other when they get damaged, because it happens sometimes. These have a lot of protection. See this? I really liked it a lot. So now once the charger is plugged into the battery, I begin to turn the current up very slowly, and that's where I just set the current to where I want it to be. So if on your particular scooter, if you want to charge at 1.5 amps or 2 amps, then on the bottom display, that would be a 1 in the front, right? That would be on this one, the bottom display, 1.5 amps would be a 1 and then a point and a 5. If we're charging at 10 amps on this scooter, that's what I charge at, which is quick charging. It'll be a 10 right at the bottom. It'll be a 10. So definitely research this for yourself. and confirm all this information for yourself. But this charger can literally replace all of those chargers that I have. I have quick chargers. I have chargers that came with the scooter originally. I can have so much more space now because I literally have boxes and boxes and boxes of chargers. And now I could just have one charger, right? Or I could have several of these. Like if I want to charge several scooters at the same time, I could have a couple of these, but at least I'll have the choice of adjusting the voltage and the current for each one. But that has to be paid with attention, with absolute care. Absolute care, okay? So this is really an advanced user's tool, but I think that if with study and noting down the steps and with being very careful, I think that this could be a choice, an option for people that would like to choose this as an option to charge with. I think it opens up choices, right, and it can save space. But it kind of future-proofs the whole charging process. But I would like to see a charger like this using the low resistance approach of the G Batteries company, how they're doing it, and many other companies have done this too over the years. And I'm calling it low resistance, but there's others. Just never forget, there's many ways to charge a battery, many ways, and it's important for us to study those ways. We have to become self-aware on our own, because the internet's not necessarily going to teach us, and school may not even know yet, right? School's always changing. Education is always catching up to the latest possibilities. That's why education is always improving, and that's why we're always moving into the future and the day-to-day present, and we just literally build that future with our actions and with our study. Okay, everyone, see you in the next video.